Thanks for tuning in to Flynns on the Fly. We're Matt and Kate. We are North Americans from the United States that moved to Ecuador to escape the rat race.
So if you're just tuning in, welcome. We are glad you're here. You'll find that we are inconsistent posters, which means we pretty much only post when we have something important to share, something we learned, a cool experience, or
Time. We have time.
yeah, because we're not jubilados.
We're not retired. We still work. We still have real busy lives.
So really, it's about sharing information we feel like will be valuable for you if you decide to come down to Ecuador to live, or maybe you're already here and you're trying to still find your way. Today, we're going to do a tell-all about
Life in the south of Ecuador.
the wild, wild west.
Just our experience and our take on our 9 months living in the southern area of Ecuador adjacent to Vilcabamaba.
Because for us, our experience was amazing. Like, we went down there for a very specific reason, to have kind of a sabbatical hermitage, and it was perfect for that. When it came time to reemerge from the shell we had been in, we realized that that wasn't going to be the best place for us. Doesn't mean it won't be the best place for you, but we're going to share some things to help you be as informed as possible.
One thing that happened in our favor for sure is we rented a place sight unseen, which
The third time we've done this.
So we ended up in a gated community in Malacatos. For us, living in a gated community was key.
And it was nice because it's paved. It was paved all the way to our doorstep. It was a great place to learn how to ride motorcycles. And
We even had street lights in our neighborhood. It was an anomaly for most places in Ecuador.
Because seriously, if security is not on the top of your list of concerns for moving, especially to Southern Ecuador,
You need to know that security is your responsibility, that you need to be able to self-secure. And there's a lot of places that are not secure in all over Ecuador, but especially in Southern Ecuador around Vilcabamba.
and one thing that we didn't realize coming, because we watch all these stories unfold in the Facebook groups and forums, and please, if you are only on YouTube listening to other YouTubers and what they're saying, like, get in the expat groups on Facebook. I know social media may not be your favorite thing and you may not want to, but you're going to get a much more well-rounded idea of what's going on. It's all about, like, wherever you live, being connected, letting people know that you're there, having a community support for your safety is really important, because we saw one home invasion. The lady was typing it on Facebook as it was happening, and no one knew where she lived. Both roughed up and tied up.
Yes, but they lived through it. It wasn't like some of the other things that have happened. And this house had been robbed before.
I get it. That's kind of your dream of having a finca or a small farm and living off grid in a way.
And it's possible. It is possible, but you need to take security into your own hands, and you need to have multiple levels of security, or you will be a statistic. That's our take on it.
Those are our observations. It sounds kind of harsh, but that is the reality of life down there.
We would not stay there if we weren't living in a gated community.
And that's what really kind of woke us up, and we're going to talk about the rental situation next. It was ready to reemerge, to engage in community, and realizing that the options available to us were going to make us feel unsafe.
And the pricing sucked. There's some bad pricing on rentals in Vilcabamba area for sure.
So the house that we rented was for sale. Apparently it's been renegotiated, or it has been renegotiated for long-term lease now for whatever reason. Those are kind of the places you're going to get the best deals on, places that are for sale or places that the owners are hoping to return home to. So basically what you are in that situation is a house sitter, basically. But that worked out for us. It ranged from things that were decently nice, that were like second homes for Lohanas in Malacatos, in the Vilcabamaba area, to all-out shanty shacks for like $500-600 a month in rent. Now, we have been told that the rental market goes in waves, and we must have just been at a low point of the wave where there was very low availability.
Could be. It could be.
Could be.
It could be.
When you're looking at the second homes for that are available for rent, they are like weekend spots. They're not built or designed for permanent living situations. So there's no storage, there's no comfortable furniture, there's no closets,
and you pay. There's a different price point for unfurnished and furnished, and furnished can be a wide range here. Furnished can mean like plastic table and plastic chairs and I don't know what you would call some of those sofa creations, like pallet furniture stuff, you know.
Because most of what is available are second homes, you're going to have a really hard time finding something unfurnished to rent. I don't know if we saw anything that was unfurnished when we were in the midst of looking.
No, because that's the game, and the landlords know that if they call it furnished, they can charge a higher price for it, and it's typically not worth it.
Yeah.
And I mean, this goes for any place in Ecuador. We would not recommend buying anything in Ecuador unless you stayed for at least 9 months, probably a year. There is a lot of people that show up into Ecuador and just buy something quickly under the honeymoon phase, and then they end up leaving. There was quite a few houses there's at least a dozen houses we've seen in Ecuador bought by expats from other areas that can't live here anymore or didn't want to live here anymore or whatever the case may be.
And that's the reality. You know, you're excited, you come down, you're finding land, you have this dream, you're seeing it unfold, you're having the place built. And then,
it's affordable. I mean, it's a different price point than we're used to in North America or people from Canada and different areas around the world. Like, this seems like such a great deal. I should just do this. You know, it's magical. Some of that may rub off.
Because it is so beautiful, it's almost like it puts you under a little bit of a spell.
Mm-hmm. And it's a different, you know, this is a developing country. There is a different lifestyle that happens here, and the people that live here around you may not like you as much as you think they do, and they may see you as just some kind of a target or somebody that has money that they want.
A friend of ours in Malacatos told a story of her friend that asked her neighbors to watch out for her house while she went back to the States. And when this woman returned, she got to her home and it was emptied, completely emptied. So she goes to her neighbor's door that she asked to look out for the house. She knocks, they open up, and their house is filled with all of her things. And I asked what the lady did, and she was like, well, she figured that they needed those things more than she did, and she moved on.
She's a better person than I am.
For sure.
I would not go down that road.
But that is a reality to understand. Like, the mentality is you have more. What's the issue here? Why do you have more than we do?
And a lot of the people here, they want to go to the U.S. They can't understand why we would leave the U.S. to come here. So there's a huge chasm there that's just not going to be easily crossed. So there's always going to be some misunderstanding that I don't think people get.
Most people that live or from Malacatos have never been outside of Malacatos or outside of Loja province. Like, the doing and going and exploring, that's another thing that's foreign to them. So
and they can't afford it.
They can't afford it. You have this tiny village of Malacatos, and you have these richer Lohanas coming in on the weekends, and then you have these gringos moving in. I would imagine that would cause some discontent or a point of contention, at least. Like, why are you guys coming here? Why are you invading our spaces? Why are you asking for all these changes and things like that? So it's just something to be aware of and consider. You're going into their quaint village thinking, oh, this is lovely and nice. And a lot of times we just don't consider the perspective of the locals that are from there.
Right.
And that's one thing to consider, going back to the safety issue. Like in the city, in the village, in downtown, that's where you're going to be most likely the safest, and it's also going to be the noisiest. So there's a trade-off there for sure.
And there's people that have been robbed in the city too. You know, their apartment or little house in the city has been robbed during the day.
During the day.
So there's security issues, and it's not just in Vilcabamba, it's everywhere in Ecuador. But
just to circle back real quick on the rental situations, you know, one thing we were not prepared for, we didn't understand is not all realtors they don't have cars, so they will be adamant that you pay for their taxi, that you meet them there. It was just kind of an odd thing for us, not on our radar, so something to expect. And it's not a big deal. Like, it's not like the taxi fares are, you know, crazy expensive or anything like that. It was just curious to us. This one woman was like, you're going to pay my taxi fare, right? You have to pay it. And it was, okay.
Well, and around Vilcabamba, there's a lot of realtors, property managers type things. There's a lot of different people. We're not promoting any one person. It's not our thing. But they all typically shop the same property, or, you know, will promote the same property. So you could see the same property with, 20 different people.
That is curious. I think it's similar in Cuenca. We haven't had that experience here. We've actually heard that it's not that experience here in Cotacachi, but I don't know. They're probably on some kind of listserv, and when a property comes up, they all get the information on that same one. So there is a lot of competition it is a supply and demand issue.
Yeah, it's kind of like they're pimps, and the landowners or homeowners are whoring out these properties to whoever will pay the best price or get the best deal for them.
So all that to say, we feel like buying is probably going to be a better option than renting in that area.
After you're sure that this is where you want to live.
Yes. We're going to do, our next video is going to be a whole thing on what it's like to rent in Ecuador, because I'm very uninformed about that process and how the laws work. So we're going to do a full video on that.
What do you miss about Malacatos now that we've been in Cotacachi?
The sunsets, the view, the birds.
Yeah, there are way more birds. You're at a lower elevation, so you have more birds. The climate there was way different, of course. Mm-hmm. But it all, I think you kind of said this, it's a different lifestyle down there. It feels like you're kind of at the end of the world, because you are way more isolated, you're way down. And not that Cotacachi is in like the middle of anything, but it's a lot quicker to get to an international airport here. It's not doesn't have the same flavor.
Yeah. Even though there are things that may be close, it's this feeling that you are very isolated, that you are kind of at the end of the world, like he said. And
there, some of the people there maybe are hiding out. There are some outlaws out there. There's some different energies floating around down there for sure. And one thing that Vilcabamba desperately needs is a nice coffee shop. For the beautiful coffees that are available all over that area, there is not a good coffee shop in Vilcabamba yet. What do you think?
Agreed. Here. Anybody responding to setting up a really nice coffee shop that people may or may not spend money and time at?
And pickleball courts. They need pickleball courts too.
So a little bit on location, climate, and convenience. Because you are in it, you're in the mountains, every valley is going to have a slightly different microclimate. And that was another thing that we found coming out of where we were. Everywhere else that we were shown was going to be very hot.
Yeah, super hot.
Like, we had good breeze where we were. There's a few hours in the afternoon where you're just not going to be outside doing anything. But for the most part, the climate to us was perfect. So know that even if you're in the same general vicinity, the weather might be very different. Like, we saw rain over Podocarpus all the time that rarely made it to where we were.
Right.
And because we were kind of west of the city, west of Malacatos and Vilcabamaba, we were closer to the more desert, arid climate. And from the moment we got there to the moment we left, it got browner and browner and browner and browner. And then our neighborhood ended up running out of water. And all these things kind of came together to let us know it was time to leave.
Yeah. And it's been an extreme dry year, too, because of El Nino and other things. But that's the typical way it works through there. It does dry up, and then the rains come. And
if you're outside of the city, you're going to need some kind of transportation to get around, which a lot of the impetus for many of us gringos coming down here is not to have a car, not to have to do those things. But if you're going to the Wild Wild West, you're going to need...
Yeah, you need a car.
And you're not going to need a car. You're going to need a 4x4.
Yeah, because a lot of the roads are pretty crap.
Once you get outside of Centro, it's dirt, rutted mountain roads. And we saw one place that was like 30 minutes up, probably like 3 miles. Maybe.
Oh, God.
And halfway there, we should have just said, we don't need to go any further. Like, we're not going to buy a truck. We're not going to.
And that was a gringo property, too.
And that was a gringo
property. That was another property some gringo had bought, built a house, and they weren't living there.
Another thing is, like, we all have heard that the noise is bad. There's this logical knowing, oh yeah, I've seen all these videos, the noise is bad. And then there's the reality of being in it.
It was way more idyllic here before the importing of the ginormous speakers.
That are just loud with unbelievable bass that vibrates your windows even when you're miles away.
Yeah, this is kind of late in the game, I guess, but the road condition getting down there is already in bad shape, and then from all the fires this year, and then once the rains do come, the landslides that are going to happen and the road conditions, I'd say the roads are going to be in pretty bad shape this year. But that's our take on life in the South. Yeah. After actually living there 9 months and not just being a armchair quarterback.
Yeah. And all said, it was an amazing 9 months. And I know we will look back on that time 20 years from now and be like, that was so cool that we got to do that.
Yes.
But when it came time for putting down a long-term place to be, it just didn't turn out to be the right fit for us. And that's okay. Spot. We are on the fly, mobile, and willing to go.
And it's the reality of it. We really are making this stuff up as we go. And that's kind of how we do it.
Peace out, homies.
Whoop, 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 whoop. Healing or something. Did you just miss completely?
I missed and splashed. You can put that in the reel if you want.